It's really remarkable how changing just one or two things on your designs can drastically evolve the end result. In fact, it's quite mind-blowing when you learn this idea for yourself. Now take a look at this design for example. It's a typical run-of-the-mill landing page. But what do you see wrong with it, and how can we improve it? Firstly, the obvious problem is the typography. I'm not sure why New Era and Digital are laid out in a non-aligned manner, and then the body text below again is out of sync in alignment. But the deeper, more hidden problem for me is the illustration, the very focal point of this design. Bear with me on this one, because considering this design is about a new era of tech, the illustration is very generic and not modern at all. It doesn't inspire me, the viewer, to want to get involved with new tech and a new era, and that's because it looks pretty much outdated. Well, let's change those two things right now. And bam, here's my typography with a fresh alignment, a hierarchy of size and color, and a nice cyan call to action. But the star of the show is really going to tap into the new modern era of VR and tech. Here is a fun 3D illustration, and this showcases the level of tech that we have in the design world that really plays into that new era kind of message that we want to express. And if you place the designs side by side, for at least me anyway, the original looks very generic and outdated. All I did was consider the focal points and then the layout of the typography. Two simple things, but we have a very different design. And let's look at more examples of small changes and big end results. This is an advert that I found for, I guess, a graphic design course or something like that. But for me, once again, the typography needs reworking. I don't get why they use a script style font for the word graphic, and the kerning on the projects for line just doesn't sit well with me at all. It's pretty much too wide in comparison to everything else. Let's grab some bold uppercase letter forms, and of course we can emphasize the word projects with a different color, and that color is sampled from the design on the right. Next up, a different font entirely for hierarchy, but I'm not going to stop just there. In the original design there were some illustrations of graphic design tools, but I've decided to bring an actual image of a tablet pen to divide up the two groups of text. This makes the design more interesting, more fun, and it adds an extra layer of depth. The pen also leads the viewer's eye to the right, completing their visual journey, so to speak. But you be the judge. How do they look side by side, or should I say top to bottom? Do you think the two simple changes made a big difference? Up next, another landing page, and this one was so much fun to redesign. Again, we have a generic, boring, flat illustration. To me, this is totally uninspiring, and I'm not sure what you get from the design, but that's just how I feel about it. I'm also not too fond of the typography layout on this one. I know, surprise, surprise. But how would you approach making those slight changes to this design? Well, the first thing I did was to make the background slightly more orange so any white text would be more legible. That yellow was kind of a bit too bright. I wanted to make the focal point a true focal point that would be fun and engaging to look at, so I felt this 3D gravity design worked really well. Notice how the top tablet kind of creeps over that white header. This was in fact intentional, and it makes the design that much more interesting. Also on the tablets there is a pen, and the pen leads to the typography. I kept one of the arrows that now leads down to that call to action. Again, standing side by side, you can be the judge on whether or not these small changes made a big improvement. And it is going to help your designs if you can see where things have the ability to be evolved into something better while using or incorporating your own style. And here we have a business card. It's pretty clean and simple, right? The back of the card has those lines splitting up sections of the text so we can easily understand them. But I think we can make things a tiny bit better. Firstly, let's do away with those lines and just have one dividing line. Let's remember that she's a fashion designer, so I want her name and her profession to really stand out. Contrasting fonts and size help make the reading experience easier and that much more interesting. The contact details can go on the far right, and I have a small divider separating the address from the actual contact details. The front of the business card is fine, I think. The logo is super generic, but we will just leave that alone because we're focusing on the business card. And as you can see, hierarchy really does help make things more accessible to the viewer, and actually the front could be altered like this, but the original is just fine. It was a small afterthought that I had, and thinking about the afterthought now, I do prefer the original front design. And here's a logo. Mr. Sasquatch is looking like he's having a grand old day. But for this logo, I think the easy change here is the wildly cooler typography. It being at the very top there makes the logo kind of feel a bit awkward, and it wouldn't translate well in a practical situation, in my honest opinion anyway. Having it below the main logo type is generic, yes, but I think it looks very smart and it's very clean in this situation. And to me, it's just a no-brainer. But I hope you can see how just making a few changes here and there can totally reinvent, evolve, or change a design for the better. And which one do you think was the biggest improvement in today's video? If you want to see more graphic design content by myself, just click a video on screen, and until next time, design your future today. Peace.